What's up, sages? What's shaking? Happy Motivational Monday. I hope you guys are doing well. I just had a quick thought to share with you on this magical Monday, and it's about the love paradigm. Now, what's up, Mike Miguel? This isn't the love like feely, crunchy, hippy dippy kind of love. But here's what it is. I've heard this from a lot of like modern philosophers lately and psychologists is that we're moving into this love paradigm, but it's a lot of love for ourselves and a lot of love for what's not going our way. And here's what I mean by that. You have heard a lot of talk in this business about if we can't get past a certain rank, then we got to do the mindset work. And like, what the heck does that mean? You got to do the mindset work. I've been hearing this, since the beginning of my business. But the thing is, every business talks about this, okay? Because you can't get to where you want to go unless you change. So, because here's why. First of all, just for a visual, lizards shed their skin all the time. We actually shed our skin in our physical body. They say 7 years go by and you have an entirely new physical body because literally every single cell in your body changes. But our mind doesn't do that. It holds on. But the cool thing is, because of neuroplasticity, we can train the brain. But we have to be willing to shift. Okay? So what I mean by this love paradigm is the fact that we have to start to view our life differently. And how do we do that? The things that we think of all the time, right? So Deb Erickson would say, men think about 60,000 thoughts per day. Women think about 80,000 thoughts per day. Men have more spaces in between their thoughts. So, when you're saying like, honey, what are you thinking? They're like, nothing. They're actually telling the truth. So women's minds just kind of are like a constant run of thoughts. But the 90% of those thoughts are actually negative. And 95% of those thoughts are what we thought yesterday. So you can imagine subconsciously, we're going day to day, all throughout the day, hour by hour, just thinking the same thoughts that we did yesterday unless we change. And how do we change? We have to bombard our brain somehow. So if you're not listening, like if you're listening to the news all day, you're getting mostly negative news, unless for some reason somehow you found some like positivenews.com and that's all you're listening to. Most is trying to sell you something or talking about politics or talking about, for some reason death is like more newsworthy than like what someone good does in the world. And they have that a little bit, but mostly they start with the drama. And so what is it that you're filling your brain with every day? Okay. So when I talk about loving the things that are wrong, here's the difference. When we are just thinking negative things like this, oh, I suck at marketing, or I suck at, outreach, or I suck at doing classes, or I can't do this. This is too hard. You see what I mean? That's negative, obviously. Now, positive, right? It's like, what are you going to lie to yourself? So positive, you can think of the opposites of all those. But what I'm talking about is trying to love those thoughts that come up. So let's say the thought that comes up is, I suck at marketing. This is how you shift it. I recognize that thought. I used to not be the greatest at marketing, but I know it's important for my business. So I'm going to learn all the skills that I can in order to be better at that. Or you say, I recognize I keep complaining about this. I'm not great at marketing, but I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm going to put my energy, instead of worrying about that and speaking the negative, that I'm going to put my energy into outsourcing it to somebody else. And if you don't have money to do that, you can do what I have done, which is get an intern. If you have local schools, there's so many people who are looking for like cool people to connect with and learn from, right? That mentorship shift is also happening where we're like craving because of the internet and the power is now in the hands of the people, where social media is getting bigger than TV. So the hands are in the power of the people. And so the people are searching for people to connect with, right? Which is why y'all should just keep doing YouTube videos and putting your stuff out there, because there's someone who wants to connect with you who's like you. You see what I mean? It doesn't have to always be perfect, and it shouldn't be, because no one's perfect. So that's what I'm talking about with the marketing. Let's do a different example. So what else did I say? So I'm not good at classes. I'm not good at teaching classes. Well, what are you good at that you're going to get the word of health and essential oils out to people? What are you good at? Are you good at art? Then how have you used your art along with the essential oils? Like, how do you use the essential oils along with your art projects, and how has that helped you? Share that with people, right? So, okay, I haven't been good at classes, but maybe I can watch one of Jenny or Elena's videos and get a little better, so that when I'm sharing with people while I'm doing my artwork, I can almost like turn it into a class, okay? Or if you are someone who is into animals and you use the oils on your animals all the time, that's not my niche whatsoever, right? But you need to connect with your niche and your type of people, and they need to hear from you. So how are you, and again, if the thing is like, I'm not good at marketing, or I'm not good at reaching out to people, but you have a knowledge and a skill that is so unique. And again, if you don't think you're unique, you are, because like all the people who will be watching this, all of you who I see watch the videos, you all have I could probably spend an hour with each of you and just list the things that I love about you. And they're totally different from me and anyone else on the call, you see? So you have to start to think of the things that you worry about every day and replace worry with a faith that you've got this. Because where there is worry, there is no faith. And where there is faith, there is no worry. I promise you that. And so you have to start loving and being aware of first the thing that is negative in your life that you keep saying over and over and over to yourself. You have to say, you know what? I used to suck at marketing, and I love that, because now that I know and I've been through all the drama with not knowing how to market, now I can actually teach people how someone who knew nothing about it can actually learn a little bit and then launch, a business with a little bit of skill with it, and then outsource the rest. Or, I used to hate getting on lives. And then I saw Jenny get up there with her totally miscolored and misshapen and flyaway hair with no makeup on. And she did it, and she looked ridiculous. So, if I put a little makeup on, maybe I'd feel better about myself. Do you see what I mean? Because that was everyone's journey with it. So you have to start saying, I love that because this taught something to me. This taught something to me. And now it's launching me in a way to serve the type of people that are connected to me. Not the people that Elena are connected to, not the people that Ange are connected to, but the people who are meant to connect to me, right? So that kind of goes along with, that our mind is a factory. So I want to talk just for a minute or two more about this. That poor thinking habits keep most people poor. Okay. And I'm talking poor in wealth. I'm talking poor in health. I'm talking poor in emotion. I'm talking poor in friendships. I'm talking poor in business. You see what I mean? Business networking and all that. Poor thinking keeps most people poor. And so think about your mind like a factory. Okay. So whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this factory. And then you build the economic and social and financial fabrication of your life based on what you put into that factory. You see what I mean? So in a factory, you're building things with whatever the boss gave you, and your, whatever rules were passed down, that's what you're building. That's what you're making. That's what you're doing in the factory. But what we put out in the world economically, right? Because we're contributing economically, because the more you put out, the more you spend. It circles around in the economic world and it comes back to you. But if you are withholding money, right? If you're withholding and you never circulate it into the world, then you're tying it up. You see what I mean? And so same thing with social. If you're a hermit and you're always staying inside and you're not like going out into society and sharing your ideas and meeting people and serving people and thanking people and being with people, then you are creating in your mental factory your social fabrication. And now that's what you put out in the world. And that's what comes back to you. And same with, financial and emotional and everything else I was talking about. So, the other way that, and so again, if you have this block where you're like, I know, but like, how do you change that? You have to start just YouTubing, podcasting, audio book listening, regular book reading, at least 15 minutes a day, probably, hopefully 30 minutes a day of something new. This could be Success Magazine. This could be doTERRA Leadership Magazine, guys. I would like you to write in the comments, by the way, for anyone who's made it this far, do you get Leadership Magazine? Because I can't remember if only elites or above get it. And whoever comments here who says, Jenny, I've never gotten Leadership Magazine in my life, I'm going to send you 1 or 2 or 3, depending on how many people comment. If you get it, okay, you're considered a leader and we're going to keep working together. So, but if you don't, I want you to start reading just like one of these magazines and let it inspire you. Because the more that you read what successful and positive and, spirit-filled people do, then the more you will change your thoughts every single day. Okay? So 2 more thoughts is that the way that you think about your past and the way that you feel about your future are big determining factors about how your future will happen, will behave, right? So you want to think in the same line as I was talking about of your past as like a school, okay? Now, some of us still dwell on 6th, 7th, 8th grade, things that happened back then, but we want to think of it as like, oh, I learned that back then. That's what I'm talking about. I learned this in 5th grade. I learned this in 6th grade. I learned this in 8th grade. And it's in the past. So we know that it made us become who we are, but we have to think of it as something in the past. And even the mistakes we make, like even the tests we failed and, the mistakes that we made, it taught us something. So we have to think of that every day. If we fail, we just have to keep thinking every day. The past, even if it was 10 minutes ago, the past taught me something. Okay? And then how you feel about the future, you can either think about the future with, with apprehension, which is like, I don't know if I can do this. Or if you're doing the non-income producing activities, right? Like the mindless things instead to move your business forward, you're doing, and they're not moving your business forward. We call them mindless, miscellaneous things. That's more like apprehension, like, I don't know. But if we feel appreciation and anticipation for it, I would say like an appreciating anticipation for it, then we're much more apt to act. We're much more apt to have an intention about our day. We're much more apt to have movement every single day. We're much more apt to create a plan. Okay. And I'm going to continue this over the next couple weeks with goal setting because we're coming upon the 4th quarter, guys. And I want to do kind of like a relook at the end of this month on your goals. So if anyone has done their goals for 2019, we want to relook at those. Many of you were at an early kind of business meeting where several of you came, and it was an early business meeting in the first quarter where we wrote down a ton of our goals. And if you haven't been looking at those every quarter, I want you to look at them this last quarter and see what we can accomplish, but also find the wins that we have had this year. And also already a fourth quarter, say, what else can I do in the rest of this fourth quarter to like be totally awesome and like have no regrets as I move into and set my goals for next year, and see if you can achieve them better next year, right? So it's a good time to kind of check in at the end of this time. So that's all. Just a quick recap. If the love paradigm, it's not about like touchy-feely lovey, although that's great, but it's about really noticing and being aware of the thoughts that we have every day, loving ourselves, number one, and number two, seeing if you can love in the sense of appreciate your faults and what they've taught you, okay? Second part is our mind is a factory, and that every single thing that we fill our brain with comes out and comes back to us. Do you see what I mean? It goes in, that's the fabrication of our life. It goes out into the world, that's the vibe we put out, and it comes right back, unless you set to change it every single day. And then thinking about your past as a school and all the things that it has taught you, all the mistakes you've made, don't regret it. Just know that it's made you who you are and made you stronger today. And that you have to think of the future, not in apprehension and like avoidance, but anticipation and appreciation. Love you guys. Happy Motivational Monday. Have a great week. Mwah!